vale. Ando tripeado, tú sabes que tengo llave. Aunque chingamos no te amo, no me nace. Dime cuánto vale. Que hay puro, que hay duro, que hay jale. Ando tripeado, tú sabes que tengo llave. Aunque chingamos no te amo, no me nace. Y yo no pido perdón porque no te mencionó. La anda buscando porque eso se la llevó. Hay gente mirando porque sé que tengo flow. Dime cuánto vale.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Google's new Pixel 9 Pro XL boasts some of the best hardware and software performance on paper compared to any of the previous Pixel models, which makes it, to me, probably the most anticipated Pixel to date. Last time I used a Pixel phone, I was blown away by the software and the AI features. Google has always been ahead of the game when it came to that. But if I'm being honest, the hardware just felt a little behind. The camera, the battery, and just the overall feel in the hand, it didn't quite match up to some of the flagships from Apple and Samsung. That's why I'm so excited to unbox this and see if this is the year that the hardware finally matches up to the software. So let's find out. Is this the Pixel that finally delivers the complete package? Is it worth the upgrade from the 8 Pro or even the 7 Pro? Without further ado, let's go ahead and unbox this thing. First impression, definitely never been a Pixel that looks as premium as this. I think I might have to say it. This is probably the best looking phone of 2024. I do love the rectangular look of the Ultra, but you cannot go wrong with the curved edges. And I don't mind this color either, low-key. I did want the pink one just because it pops out a little bit more than this one. They all look good, and that Google logo in the back looks really cool as well. So after owning this phone for about a week now, here are some of my initial thoughts, and let's start with one of my favorite aspects of this phone, and already a huge upgrade from the 8 Pro. That's the design. The aluminum and glass build feels significantly better than the 8 Pro did. I can't quite put my finger on why, but this one really feels like a flagship. And it reminds me a lot of the new iPhone 16 Pro in terms of build and design. The back introduces that new housing for the phone's camera, which I'll get into in a bit, but I really like the new design. You also get a thermometer in there, which allows you to check human temperature now. Not necessarily something I've been asking for. But hey, if I'm feeling a little under the weather, I know I don't have to like search in my house. I can just use my phone, so that's pretty cool. The fingerprint sensor has been fast and never really gives me trouble like some of the previous models. This Pixel 9 Pro XL has this massive 6.8-inch OLED display. Its color accuracy reminds me of the iPhone 16 Pro as well. A lot less saturated than my Samsung's, which I personally prefer. The 120 Hz refresh rate makes things look incredibly smooth with no jitteriness at all. So while the hardware improvements are definitely a step up from previous years, I think what really defines the Pixel series and this Pixel 9 Pro XL is definitely the software and just that Google experience that you get. That's what anybody who really wants a Pixel is probably looking for. This phone comes out with Android 14, which I'm pretty sure last year's model came out with as well. Either way, it's still my favorite software experience on a phone. I really do appreciate the little details that make the experience a lot better. And full warning, a lot of them have to do with AI. And I think now we're seeing all these companies using AI as like their biggest selling point at this point. Some of my favorites are Circle to Search, which allows you to circle whatever's on your screen. That way it can Google search it for you, which is really cool, but it did come with my S24 Ultra back in January. So it doesn't really feel that new or special, but it's definitely a good addition to have. Another cool feature is being able to talk to Gemini. I think it's called Gemini Live. Yeah, you can have full-on conversations with AI. Definitely give it a try. It is pretty freaky, but I've used it a couple times and it's a lot easier than typing. Hey Gemini, what do you think the Charlotte Hornets need to do this year in order to win the championship?
All right, let's be real. The Hornets have a long way to go. They need a whole lot more than just LaMelo balling. First off,
you can use AI in messaging or in emails, which makes it a lot easier to reply to people. But I think the best use of AI is in Google Photos, and it makes finding things a lot easier. Things like summarizing or making a song about your summer based on the pictures that you have on your phone. AI in Photos can do all kinds of things like make songs about people you frequently have pictures with based on the pictures they're in. You can essentially ask it whatever you want based on your pictures. And I know some people probably don't want AI searching through their photos, but there is an option to turn this mode off and do a classic search. There's also AI reframing when you take a picture and it's a little off-centered and you want to make it look like you got that perfect shot. And it even gives you a bunch of different options. My favorite is probably using AI to fill out the scene around you. So if you did take a portrait shot that's pretty close to somebody and you want to pull it back a bit, it'll use AI to fill in the gaps. And I think that's pretty cool. So I've been a huge fan of this Pixel camera ever since the first one debuted years ago. But ever since the Pixel 4, I think the camera really hasn't impressed me as much as it used to, especially with the video. I feel like they were lagging behind all the other flagships. Honestly, that's a big part of why I jumped ship and started using Samsungs. So coming back to the Pixel 9 Pro XL, the biggest question is, does it live up to the Pixels of the past? I think the short answer is it does sometimes. This camera is really inconsistent, and that's my biggest problem with it. I just feel like after you get a shot and the software is processing, you just really don't know what you're gonna get, and that's just kind of disappointing for me. But before I show you all the videos and the pictures that I got, let's take a look at some of the lenses that come on this phone. The back of this phone has 3 cameras. The first one is the main 50 megapixel camera. The second one is the 48 megapixel ultra wide that also has autofocus. And lastly, you're getting a 48 megapixel telephoto, which has a 5x optical zoom. And there is a feature on here called Video Boost that actually makes the zooming in look a lot better. So right now I'm using the front facing camera. It's a 48 megapixel camera, and the ultra wide is pretty good. I like, you know, the amount of space and the amount of things that you can see. The only thing, I guess this looks a little bit more processed than I would like. This is with 10-bit HDR. I'm not sure what the difference is, if like the colors change a little bit, but so the first thing I noticed was that you get a pro mode in the Pixel's camera app. And I think that's a great feature. It gives you a lot more control over your shots. Instead of just relying on Google's automatic software, you can manually adjust settings like white balance, exposure, or even your focus for your desired look. But the big downside for some reason is that this doesn't come with Pixel's videography capabilities. Like, it's only on the photos. For some reason, Google seems to lag behind when it comes to the videos. For example, like Pro mode is only limited to white balance and exposure adjustments. It also doesn't have 4K 100 frames per second recording, which a lot of the flagships do now. So I don't understand why it didn't have that. Recently used the Pixel's camera during a Content Sunday event that me and my friends hosted. And while I think the cinematic pan mode produced some smooth and stable shots, even while being handheld, I think some of the shots came out a little blurry and just didn't look as detailed as I would have wanted. I was impressed by the night sight video. It makes scenes look a lot brighter and it added a lot more detail to the shots. I really like this new Add Me feature that uses Google AI to add people in shots that they were never originally in. It's definitely weird, but I think features like this definitely set the Pixel camera apart from other phones. I recently tried it with friends and it took a little bit longer than I expected to get right. You start by taking a picture with space for another person, The tricky part is trying to keep the camera steady while you're handing the camera off to somebody else, because you have to keep that same exact position or else you won't even be allowed to take the shot. And it took me longer than I like to admit, especially when a group of friends are waiting to see the results. But when it works, the outcome looks pretty realistic. I can definitely see myself using this for various different scenarios in the future. But while I really like a lot of the software features on this Pixel camera, I think one word to describe it would definitely be inconsistent. One thing that really surprised me was the battery, and that's because this is the best battery life that I've ever experienced on a phone. You're getting a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so you'd expect it to be pretty good, but I didn't expect it to be that good. I've gone to sleep with about 30% charge, and I didn't even need to plug it in until the afternoon of the next day. And I'm not sure if it's just because the phone is new, but this is definitely the best battery life I've experienced on a smartphone. And I think it may have to do with the adaptive battery, which uses AI, but it basically can tell which apps you use the most, and it'll use the battery to prioritize those apps. So yeah, like I said, I've only been using this phone for about a week now, but I definitely think the experience will get better over time. That's kind of how the Pixel experience is now. The more you use it, the better it gets, because it studies your habits, it learns what you like and what you don't like, and it just becomes a more tailored experience. And I think that's just what the Pixel experience is now. It's mainly software based, but I think the hardware is definitely starting to step up a bit. And I think the biggest issue is just the inconsistency of the camera, but even that, I feel like I'm starting to like more and more. Google Photos will send me notifications about videos that they use Video Boost on, and they just look a lot better than the video I took initially. I think the Pixel 9 Pro XL is definitely going to be a favorite for a lot of people. It's been growing on me, and I think a lot of people should give it a chance because it'll definitely grow on them. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'm definitely a fan of this Pixel 9 Pro XL, and I'm really curious to see how they can top it in the future. I think these Pixels have been getting better and better each year, and this is probably the closest that the hardware and the software kind of lined up. Let me know if you have it, what you really like, and if you don't have it, what's stopping you from getting the Pixel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does mean a lot, and stay tuned for the next video. Peace.